L. I am not Charla Hales. Charla is on a previous, you can hear now? It's still Howard? Okay. Anyways, okay. Commissioner Hales had a family trip that was planned well in advance of this special meeting, so she's not going to be joining us today. So I will be running the meeting. And at this time, I'd like to ask you all to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Wes Rice.
Thank you. And after this weekend, with all of the flags that were flying over all of the graves of the people that gave their lives for us, please keep them in mind as we do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. At this time, we're going into public comment. Okay, we'll just go into public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per speaker unless additional time is granted by the board chairperson, which is today me. The Board of Commissioners uses timing lights to ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak. Commissioner Rice has agreed today to run our timing system. You will see a green light when you begin, and then a yellow light, which indicates that you have 30 seconds left and should conclude your comments. Once the light turns red, please sit down. You'll also hear an audible signal when the light turns yellow on there. And your timing will begin when you state, after you state your name. In addition to opening public comment will also be taken on administrative agenda items that are identified for possible action and closing public comment. If you plan to speak on a specific agenda item, we only have one today, that is on the administrative agenda and identified for possible action, please provide your public comment when that agenda item is heard. Public comment must be limited to matters that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of County Commissioners. Public comment must be addressed to the chairperson and not to the members of the public so that the board may take further action on the issues that are raised by the public. At this time, public comment will be taken on those items that are within the jurisdiction and control of the Board of County Commissioners. Public comment.
Good morning, Julie Duda. Thank you for this opportunity to speak briefly about fiduciary stewardship. When decisions involving finance and budgets are based on trust instead of trust but verify, the consequences may be disappointing or worse. You likely know of embezzlement that was the result of misplaced trust. As a former enrolled agent, I assisted with some of the cleanup of embezzlement both in the private sector and the public sector. These events always create chaos and trauma. Tiregate will be remembered for all the negative consequences on many levels. No one can say with certainty that the fiduciary stewardship of trust but verify could have prevented Tiregate, but it's likely that some illegal financial events could be prevented if someone does more to verify. Of course, action was taken and is ongoing to prevent the misuse of public money. Effective fiduciary stewardship is always a necessary priority.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment? Okay, sensing no additional public comment, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. For possible action, approval of the proposed agenda, the Board of Commissioners reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner, to combine two or more agenda items. These are just general statements that are common to every meeting. We only have really one agenda item today, so we're not going to be removing items from the agenda or delaying discussion on related to the items on the agenda. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the proposed agenda as presented.
Chairman, I propose we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Tolbert, seconded by Commissioner Rice to approve the proposed agenda as presented. Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 3-0. And so the public understands also that we do require a quorum, and we do have a quorum here present. So 5-member board, so it takes 3 people to be present. So anyway, so we're legal. We'll go into the administrative agenda now. I'll read the record into the title into the public record, and we'll have the discretion to determine how the item will be presented. Agenda items may be considered ahead, or that's all jargon that we have at our regular meetings. Item number 5 is for possible action discussion to approve the fiscal year 25-26 final budgets for all Douglas County and Douglas County Redevelopment Agency funds in the towns of Gardnerville, Genoa, and Minden. Discussion may include a general overview of all facets of the Douglas County budgets, general funds, special revenue funds, debt service funds, enterprise funds, internal service funds, capital project funds, redevelopment agency funds, Town of Gardnerville Fund, Town of Genoa Fund, and Town of Minden Fund. The towns of Gardnerville, Genoa, and Minden will present their final budgets. This is being presented by our Chief Operating Officer, Kathy Lewis. What I did want to indicate is that as we go through this, when we get to the towns of Gardnerville, Genoa, and Minden, we will pause at the end of each one of those presentations and allow public comment at that time. And then at the end of the whole agenda item, then we'll once again accept public comment. I think that's a fair way of doing that. So anyways, with that, Ms. Lewis, our final day, right?
Yes, thank you.
You know, I think it's important for to preface this by saying that, you know, I just got back from a Western Interstate Region meeting of the Nevada or National Association of Counties. There's 3,069 counties, boroughs, parishes in the United States. All of them are going through this same process right now, not with our budget, of course, but with their budget. So this is not unique to Douglas County. We do have similar problems also, but we'll get into that later.
Thank you, Kathy Lewis, for the record. I appreciate Commissioner Gardner. We are at the final stage of looking for a board adoption of the budget. Very important milestone every fiscal year to adopt our budget and guideline for how we're going to operate in the next year. I'd like to start with the town presentations, and then I have a presentation at the end to summarize the whole budget. And I'm going alphabetical, Town of Gardnerville first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Board of County Commissioners, appreciate it. Thank you for inviting the towns to come give our presentations today. My name's Eric Nilsson, and I manage the Town of Gardnerville. Always appreciate the opportunity to let the commission know maybe some of the challenges and opportunities and things Gardnerville's looking forward to over the next year, and to answer any questions that you have. Appreciate Douglas County Finance staff and helping me put this presentation together, and their responsiveness to questions and changes. They do a great job. Busy time of year for them, and they still respond to emails much faster than the 5-day government average. So our mission statement and department description are up here. We're very precise on what we're allowed to do per Douglas County Code. Mostly provide services and maintenance related to stormwater, solid waste disposal, parks, recreation, street light maintenance. I get all kinds of calls to do things that you know, well outside of the town scope, but we're directed through county code and what we have the ability to do. So where is Gardnerville? I always start with this. If you remember, last year I gave this presentation. A lot of people think they're in Gardnerville, but they're not. Essentially, Gardnerville goes from the 7-Eleven down by Riverview Drive up to the Frontier Building, and then we kind of go out to Church Row out on State Route 756, and then basically to Stoddard Park, and that's our limit. I gave this presentation last year, and as soon as I got back to my office, I had a phone call, and it was a citizen who said, "I watched the budget presentation." I'm like, "Really? People watch that?" That wasn't the amazing part. She's like, "I live in Ruinstrath." And she said, "My neighbors and I are talking. You're blowing our mind. We don't live in Gardnerville." And I said, "No, you don't." She said, "Oh, we all thought we lived in Gardnerville till your presentation." So I get a lot of calls, but just because you have a Gardnerville address doesn't mean you live in Gardnerville. So this last year, I'd say our accomplishments, we're gonna have a big year this year. So last year, maybe the accomplishments not as grandiose as perhaps they have been. We've done a lot of work towards getting the Gardnerville Station, which is when you come into town heading north on the S-curve. It's the old gas station that used to be Eagle Gas that the town received about a decade ago. We finished the site improvement design this year for that. It's been in permitting through Douglas County, and I'm going to release it for bids today or tomorrow. And that will be worked on and completed finally in August and September and October of this year. So finally, that area that's been an eyesore for the better part of a decade will be cleaned up and landscaped and look better. We also received, and I announced it last year at this hearing, that we did receive $1.26 million of a congressional earmark to reconstruct Industrial Way. So we've been doing all the design for that this year, as well as all the federal paperwork. Just to get through the environmental clearances, personally, myself, I put in 240 hours to get through that. It was a big grind, and that's done. We have all the federal clearances, and the money's in a holding account now, and we can get to it. So that will be reconstructed next summer, 2026. We did also complete a health and sanitation rate study this year. You might have heard about it. We increased our rates by 35%, which is a significant increase. The fund this current year is projected to lose about $70,000. So we did have to pull from reserves just to make ends meet this year. The fund, we've had a hard time with trash trucks. We had 7. One that really I needed to work for another 3 years. It had an engine failure, and the estimate was $45,000 to fix a 20-year-old truck, so we let it go. So we were down to 6. New Year's Eve, our second newest truck caught on fire while it was parked. Just decided to spontaneously combust, which knocked us down to 5 trucks. Last week, I had 2 of those 5 working, so I actually had to call DDI, Douglas Disposal, to pick up some of our clients, as I did not have enough functioning trash trucks to get the trash picked up. So that fund has been struggling, and that's part of the rate increase needs. We did do some large equipment purchases this year, so there's a new bucket truck upper right. It replaces the old one. We use the bucket truck almost nonstop at the town, hanging our flower baskets downtown, putting up the banner across Eddy Street on 395. We use it the whole month of December for Christmas decorations, and also just tree maintenance and all kinds of things. So that truck, the other one is I think also 20 years old, and it will be going to auction, so we got a new bucket truck. And then the town board did this year, we're updating our strategic plan. The old one hasn't been updated since 2013. There's been plenty of accomplishments since then, and plenty of new things come up. So the town board did hold 4 hours of a workshop on May 14th. They will also have one more public workshop here in the future before bringing it a draft plan for adoption. And Scott Morgan facilitated that workshop, so he did a great job, kept things moving. So didn't have time to let the cobwebs form for long before he was back out there getting things done. So this year, some of the goals this year that we have, again, we will complete the Gardnerville Station site improvements as you come into town. I will say that the town board, we do have 3 brand new members on the town board, and the other 2 board members have been on for 4 years, so maybe some different goals, a fresh way of looking at things, different ideas than what has been done previously. I did present a capital plan in March. I thought that we could, if we really focused on it, we could repave maybe a half mile of road every 2 to 3 years. I have 25 miles of road, so my roads would be between 50 and 75 years old at that rate. Roads don't last that long. So the town board decided that we're not repaving anything unless I get a grant like I did for Industrial Way. They want to do kind of some enhanced maintenance to try to maybe slow the rate of deterioration. So we're going to do Cape Seals this year and for the next foreseeable future, 6 to 8 years probably to get the whole town done. But essentially, I'll just let this board know the high point of the town roads are today. They're never going to be better than they are right now for the foreseeable future unless something changes, and not at the county level. I don't think this board can control or provide the town the funds we need. It really has to be a change on the state level with how property taxes are collected. I know this commission has heard some ideas on ways to fund the county's local roads. But none of those options would provide any additional funds to the town for us to maintain our roads.
So, Mr. Nielsen?
Yep.
I'm not familiar with that term, Cape Seal.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit?
I can. So the Cape Seal, a picture of it shown in the lower left here. There's a seal's a seal. Any type of seal is just something you're putting over the top. A Cape Seal combines 2 different types of seal into one bigger seal. It's a chip seal, which is a larger rock up to 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch. And then you put a slurry seal over the top of that to try to make it smooth. It does provide a weathering surface, skid resistance, UV protection, rejuvenates the asphalt, but it doesn't fix the cracks. It doesn't get rid of the cracks. Doesn't hide the cracks. It's just a way to hopefully keep your pavement from deteriorating at a faster rate. We are going to do an update. So we have a pond on the end of Snafflebit Drive. I have the open space plan there in the lower right. The town board adopted an open space plan 5 years ago, and it calls for things such as restrooms, additional parking at the trailhead, a fishing dock. There's been a lot of work done at that pond. It does have thousands of trout in it, catfish, bluegill, largemouth bass, all kind of fish in it. Division of Wildlife Resources put in fish habitat, but the board wants to take a look at if all these improvements are wanted or needed. Exactly 50% of the town residents want more amenities, and exactly 50% want less. So we're going to meet and talk about it. That's going to be on June 24th at the Douglas County Community Center from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Open house. There'll also be an online poll anyone can take, and as soon as we have those links, we'll get that out. And then we do have in the budget, thanks to the increase in rates, we do have money this year to purchase a new sanitation truck. $550,000 is what they cost, but I don't know how anybody bids with tariffs. I don't know how anyone can place a bid because you don't pay the tariff when it's bid, you pay the tariff when it's delivered, and they take between 8 months and 12 months to deliver. So if you're a company and you know you're going to have to pay a rate that you're going to promise today, and you have to pay it depending on what happens with tariffs in 8 to 12 months, I don't know how they do it, but it's out there because we need a truck and we need it desperately. And then just the purchase of a new fleet pickup is the last goal we have for the upcoming year. So Gardnerville's organization chart is here posted. We basically have 5 sanitation specialists. They are in charge of removing solid waste. We have 5 maintenance specialists that are with us full time. 4 maintenance specialists, and we have a supervisor, and then we have 2 seasonal maintenance assistants, and they can work 1,029 hours during the year. They primarily water the flowers up and down Main Street in the summertime. We have to water them twice a day, 7 days a week, so it is 6 hours a day of watering. And then We do have a third maintenance assistant this year, the town board approved, because we have some additional special projects we want to get done. And then 2.5 people work in the office full-time, and then we have a superintendent who oversees all the field stuff, and then me who oversees everyone else. So with the 15.5 of us that work at the town, we get a lot done. Just roughly, the town has four funds. A general fund, and that is all property tax and sales tax, and that pretty much funds everything in the town except for the health and sanitation fund. The money that we collect for trash fees, for solid waste fees, that runs the sanitation budget, and that's it. We don't transfer money back and forth. Sanitation stands on its own. The general fund stands on its own. We do have a debt fund, although right now, currently today, the town has no debt. So on paper, we have a fund, but in actuality, we're not using it at this time. And then we have an ad valorem capital projects fund. That's a very small fund. It brings us about $75,000 a year, and it's very specific on what you can use that money to: new vehicles, new equipment. You can use it to purchase land. But a lot of people say, "Hey, Gardnerville, man, you guys have really nice trucks, but our roads are crappy. Can you quit spending all your money on trucks and put it in the roads?" Well, we use a different fund for the purchase of our trucks that you can't use to fix roads. So I understand why the public perception might be as such, but it's not
Mr.
the
Nielsen,
case.
can we go back one slide? It says proposed organizational chart 2023. Have you, are you, so here we are in 25, so.
So it was proposed in 23 and it's official in 25. So yeah, this is our fund. This is our org chart. Yep. Nope, it doesn't change that much. It's been pretty static. So here's our revenue essentially. So our general fund for the first time ever is $2 million. And that's 1.6 million of property tax and 400,000 of sales tax. It's been 4,000, between 400,000 and 405,000 for the last 3 years. So a lot of times you think, well, if it's inflationary and things are going up, your sales tax goes up with inflation. But for some reason, that hasn't borne to be true. Our sales tax has been pretty static. Gaming tax, 30,000, and then small amount, 10,000 for review fees. Health and sanitation, also $2 million for the first time ever. It was 1.5 million. And it's not hard math to do. At 1.5 million, a 10% increase is 150,000. So if a fund's losing 70,000, then if you raise it 10%, you're only in the green or the black by 80,000. So you can kind of do the math. It's pretty easy. Again, no debt and ad valorem.
What do you attribute you lost 70,000, 71,000 this last year in that fund. What do you attribute that loss to? Can you?
Well, so there's a lot of.
Besides, of course, not charging your residents enough money to pay for that. I mean, what are the causes of that?
So we've had a couple things. We take all our solid waste to Carson City landfill. They didn't raise their rates for years. And then I had anticipated during the last rate increase they would increase their rates. I figured 10%. They increased it 33%. That's a big hit. That's about just over 100,000 a year. Obviously, over the last 3 or 4 years, the cost of fuel has gone up, and then the cost of trucks. 5 years ago, when I bought a sanitation truck, it was 300,000, and like I said, the one I'm going to buy this year is 550,000. So that's almost double. And then, of course, the big one is salary and benefits to our employees. When I started 6 years ago, our average sanitation employee was getting paid $18 an hour. My son, who hasn't graduated from high school yet, makes $18 an hour working at Walmart. So you want a commercial driver, someone with a commercial driver's license, you just can't pay him $18 an hour. So we're starting him at $25 an hour now. So that's a 25% increase on salaries, which was desperately needed. So I appreciate the county commission paying attention to the salary and compensation studies in the marketplace and taking staff's recommendations and increasing it to make us competitive.
So I think it's important to understand that the three towns that are going to be speaking with us today are, the employees of those towns are considered county employees, and therefore they're subject to the same labor agreements that we have with our non-town labor agreements.
So the town we do have the ability to compensate independent of the county, but I will say when we can, we do try to mirror the county. And the town board has, for the most part, followed the county commission's lead in implementing what the county commission has.
Okay, I believe our county manager has a way in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Jennifer Davidson, County Manager, for the record. I just wanted to clarify a couple of things. While the town employees are county employees, they are not subject to the labor agreements. They're not represented. But the decisions that this county commission makes relative to general employees not subject to labor agreements would apply to the towns. With the consent of the town boards. Additionally, I would just clarify that I was Minden town manager that negotiated the memorandum of understanding that each of the towns currently has in place with the county regarding compensation, and specifically the language in the MOU states that the towns, to the best of their ability, will compensate their employees consistent with the standards adopted by the county commission and the salary ranges adopted by the county commission. Exceptions to that would need to be made by their town boards on a case-by-case basis, as is warranted and consistent with individual policy decisions of their town boards. So thank you for that opportunity to clarify.
Important clarifications. I appreciate that. I get a little confused, my mind on that.
It is.
so.
It's a confusing place. It is.
Okay.
And then to make it more confusing, at the bottom, Town of Gardnerville does not operate a water or sewer utility. The Gardnerville Water Company is a private utility company in town limits. Town of Minden and JD and Marcy are behind me. They do operate a water utility. They don't operate sewer. That's all Minden-Gardnerville Sanitation District. So it is really fragmented and changes, just differences between the towns themselves. This stuff all looks like boring stuff that Douglas County Finance made me put in my budget. Happy to go over it if you want. Kind of outlays how we're spending all our money. This is our revenue side for the general fund. Not going to go into it in depth. This is how we're spending all our money on the general fund. And I don't have a clicker. I will note this is our parks. This is what we spend in parks. $45,000 to keep the water onto our parks. And then this is the Public Works Department, which is still general fund. This is our salaries section of that, what we're paying in salaries. And then I just point out here, it's $85,000 a year just for me to keep the street lights on at the town. A lot of times, and people say, and I hear it, and I just want to clarify something. People say, well, people in the towns, they pay a higher tax rate so the town can maintain your road. It is true they do pay a higher tax rate, and a portion of that goes to the road, but a lot of it is just general stuff that if the town wasn't there and that extra tax rate wasn't being paid would be the things the county would have to do anyway. If the town didn't exist, you'd still have to keep the streetlights on, you'd still have to water the parks, you still have to pay the utility bills and the additional employees to run it. So when we're all said and done paying the bills out of the $2 million, we have about $500,000 left over to put into different projects or get things done that the town board wants to get done. Again, trash, this is our revenue side, and you can see it's gone from 1.5 million to 2 million. This is salaries and wages, and again, you can see this year there's $500,000 in salaries for the town sanitation. The adopted budget last year was, 490, 487. And then the actual amount in '24, which is what we spent, we did have, people, we didn't spend the whole budgeted amount, but that's $70,000 difference. And then, just this year between last year for benefits, and that's PERS mostly driving it, but it went up $15,000. So there's 25,000 additional expense just between last year and this year on salaries and benefits. So even if we would have kept it the same, we would be down, instead of 70,000 this year, we'd be down 100,000 this year on those two items. Not going to go into everything that we spend it on, but it's there. It's a very easy fund. Out of 2 million, right? Salaries and benefits are 750,000 of that. So, yeah. And then 400,000 is landfill fees. 115,000 is repair fees. So there's not a whole lot of discretionary money in the sanitation fund. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions the commission may have.
So I've been asking questions all along. I ask this question of you every year, just to get it on the public record. Your roads fund for repairs and maintenance, how much is that on an annual basis?
Well, so the way how the town board has put it in this year, between the Cape Seal and then just general maintenance, we have about $400,000 in road fund maintenance this year.
Okay. Okay. And obviously not enough to cover 25 miles of roads,
Correct.
right? So, okay.
Realistically, to keep the roads paved, I need double what my general fund is. I have 2 million, I need 4 million. To really provide what I would consider a concierge service, like this is really good, the town's really doing what they need to do, I think I would need triple, I'd need 6 million a year.
I thought your roads fund was larger than 400,000, but
I have the whole 2 million general fund, so after the bills are paid to put into roads, I have about 400,000.
okay. Commissioners? Other questions? Wow, okay. Always a pleasure.
No, I appreciate it.
And appreciate the job you're doing down there in town of Gardnerville. And seem to have your finger on the pulse of what's going on, so I appreciate it. So as I indicated earlier, so the town of Gardnerville is done with their presentation. So at this time, we will allow public comment on this presentation for the town of Gardnerville.
Julie Duda. Gardnerville Trash Service is a public monopoly that mandates trash services for all residents and businesses. This town includes low-income households, single-person households, senior citizen households, and those who practice reduce, recycle, and reuse. The 35% rate hike is the third hike in 4 years and will generate in excess of $500,000 per year, with no reduced service options. A comparison of 5 trash companies shows rate hikes ranging from less than 2% to 8%, with all companies having service options. A mandated monopoly can and should balance the community welfare with budget constraints. To continually increase rates and not have service options is a double burden for the community. A review of the trash audit for last year, fiscal year 2024, included in the ACFR, shows a $22,000 loss. The county subsequent reconciliation and augment for this period added $219,000 to the fund. A loss is projected for the current year, and the reconciliation amount is unknown at this time. Enterprise funds require additional verification to prevent increased fees used to supplement and circumvent the property tax cap. Proactive verification may prevent future time-consuming audit projects. A higher level of fiduciary stewardship can ensure the integrity of the fund and benefit the community. Trust but verify.
Thank you. Is there any additional public comment regarding the town of Gardnerville? Okay. Sensing no additional comment, we will bring it back to the board and we'll go into the next slide the next presentation, which is the town of Genoa, right? And we are joined by Ms. Jody Bruns, Town of Genoa Manager.
Hello.
Welcome.
I am Jody Bruns, the Genoa Town Manager. I would like to point out that you have had the same town manager 2 budget cycles in a row. That is an improvement.
Yay.
Yay for Genoa.
You know,
I will also
yeah.
point out that Eric is a very tough act to follow. You did a great job, Eric.
I would also point out, though, that you were involved with Candy Dance. Candy Dance seems to be the death knell of any town manager, and you were involved with that prior to becoming town manager, so at least you had that under your belt.
I do think that has saved me because I didn't come in with rose-colored glasses. I knew what I was getting myself into. I've been through 4 Candy Dances now, so not too much is a surprise to me. So Genoa is a community strength. The Genoa community strengthens and preserves Genoa as an independent entity through historic preservation, a strong local economy, and a sense of community. We are an unincorporated town within Douglas County. We are very small. I believe we have 153 lots, approximately 200 people. So we are, compared to Gardnerville and Minden, we are very tiny. We have 2.05 miles of road, 1.35 miles is gravel, 0.7 miles is paved. Same as Eric, that 0.7 miles stresses me if we ever have to repave that. Pavement is very expensive. We have a historic church, which was originally built in 1857. It burned down in the fire of 1910 and was shortly rebuilt. We do rent our church out. It is quite often used for weddings, memorial services, etc. We have a historic town hall, which was built in 1886. It is still operational, and we rent it quite often for wedding receptions, parties of all sorts. We have a community park, and then we have our town administration office with a commercial kitchen, which we also rent out. During this last year, I'm very proud to say that Town of Genoa received a grant in the amount of $110,390. It is for improvements to our Genoa Town Hall. It will provide insulation in the ceiling and the floor, which we do not currently have. It'll be a sound system with an acoustical wall panels and replacement of an exterior door and frame, which was kicked in 2 years ago by some unknown person. We did make a few accomplishments this last year, I'm very proud to say. We now have air conditioning. We have never had air conditioning in our town office before. And we were able to replace our 38-year-old heater. So we feel very fortunate. In addition, we installed air conditioning in our church and replaced that gas heater as well. I do need to say that that was funded by the nonprofit organization Friends of Genoa. They are a huge advocate for Genoa and help us out in so many ways. We also was able to install a storage shed in our park. We have been renting a storage unit in Carson City for decades, so this allows us to have our storage on our own property and not have to pay a monthly fee. And then we also remodeled, we had a back storage room, which was pretty much a junk room, and we were able to build a wall. We now have a town manager's office back there as well as a conference room. I originally got the bid and it was going to be $10,000 for that wall. I reached out to Western Nevada Community College and their construction management class came and built it on a weekend as a volunteer project. So that was very exciting for us. And then in addition, we have a couple more things on the horizon. The food closet of Douglas County is getting new refrigeration units. They are selling us their older refrigeration units, and Friends of Genoa will be purchasing those for us. Right now, when we make candy from July to September, we're using 7 old residential units. Now we'll have 4 refrigeration, freezer, much more cost-effective storage for the candy. And then Friends of Genoa is purchasing that. In addition, they have done a huge fundraiser over the last year and a half or so, and they are putting in hardscape pavers all around our church. It's a $100,000 project. It will be a courtyard where people can get married in the church. They can go outside and have a small reception, maybe have photos outside. It'll be a huge addition to our little town and our little church, and that is being funded by Friends of Genoa as well. Some of Genoa's ongoing obstacles, number one is lack of parking. Genoa, the greatest issue we deal with today is that lack of parking. We have such a small footprint. We bring in so many visitors every single day to Genoa, and we do not have parking for them. We do have a lot in town that if we could afford to pave it and figure out a way to regulate how people, we would want to charge for the parking, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it takes logistics and money to get that off the ground, and I don't know how our little town can do that. We also have a speeding issue. We have worked closely with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. They are trying very hard to reduce our speeders. I don't know why people would want to speed through Genoa. It's such a quaint, sweet town, but they do. And the big thing is, not only are they speeding, because we have no parking, people are having to walk out into the street to get around the parked cars, and then you have these cars that are coming through 40 plus miles an hour. It's very much a dangerous situation. Our road maintenance is another concern. I know that we don't have a lot of pavement. We only have 0.7 miles of pavement, but when that needs to be resurfaced, that's going to be a huge hit on our small budget. Thank you for the ARPA funds. We were able to slurry seal 2 of our 3 paved roads this last summer. So hopefully that will prolong the life of that pavement. Our other big obstacle is volunteers. Genoa survives on volunteers. The problem is our volunteer base is aging out. I believe there's strength in numbers, and Genoa's numbers are definitely declining. That is a major concern for us. I know this slide was supposed to be for full-time positions, but if that was the case, you would only see the town manager up there because I am the only full-time employee for Genoa, but together with my 2 part-time office specialists, I feel like we have 2. Between Monique and Katie, we usually have somebody in the office with myself at all times. Revenue, you can see, is pretty much status quo. It did increase a slight bit. Looks like it went up 4%, 23,000. Very, very grateful. I'm not worried about this year's Candy Dance. I am a little bit worried about Candy Dance of 2026. I'll cross that bridge when we reach it. But right now, I think we're going to be just fine this year. We have, for our Candy Dance, we are already at full capacity for vendors, and they're calling daily. So we're trying to find more room to fit in some more vendors. That's where we make the majority of our money, is from the vendor booth fees. Expenses, again, status quo. Didn't really have to worry about cut. I guess when you don't have a lot, you don't have to worry about making major cuts when you don't have that revenue stream. So everything pretty much for us is status quo this year. Very grateful. We don't have a lot of ad valorem, so obviously it doesn't generate very much in revenue or expenses. as well as our Genoa construction reserves. Again, we don't have a lot. We do have some, but we don't have any major projects planned outside of the paver project for the church, and that is being funded by the Friends of Genoa. Short and sweet, that's Genoa.
Thank you so much. Commissioners, questions? Commissioner Tolbert? No? Okay. I mean, this is in your district, but,
It is in my district.
oh,
And,
yeah, it's in Commissioner Rice's.
my district.
Yes, okay.
Not yours.
My bad.
Bad.
Commissioner Rice.
Anyway, you have done a marvelous job since you've taken over as the Genoa town manager.
Thank you.
I wish that I've been able to spend more time with you, but I've attended a couple of your meetings, which are very interesting, I might add.
It's a little bit different than what takes place
It's a
in
little
this
bit
room.
different, yes.
Yes.
And I must say that thoroughly enjoyable. So thank you for what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. And I know that the County of Douglas will do everything that we can within the limits of our own budget to assist you as we can. Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Okay, once again, thank you for the job you do, and especially the main function is Candy Dance, and it's a major undertaking and major part of your budget. So, anyways, I have no further questions. We will open this to public comment. Is there anybody who wishes to offer public comment in regards to the town of Genoa? Looks like you're scot-free today. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll go into the town of Minden, and we're joined by the town manager, J.D. Frisbee, and I'm sorry.
That's okay, thank you. I am Marcy Shirky, and I am the accountant for the town of Minden, and of course, J.D. Frisbee, as you just said. I'm going to go ahead and start with our recent accomplishments. Just to name a few here, we have our annual road rehab. This last time around, it was of Bougainvillea. That was completed last spring. We also completed the addition of the sidewalk to 10th Street. And then our most exciting accomplishment is the splash pad at Westwood Park. That has been open and operating for a couple of weeks now, and I think it's safe to say it is a huge hit. I was there yesterday with my daughters, and it was packed. So we're very excited about that.
I was there for the opening, inauguration, or whatever you want to call it, ribbon cutting. What a great asset to the community, and we'll add. And I suspect that as we get into the hotter months of the year, we'll see more adults out there in their swimsuits as well. That's a scary thought, but you won't see me, but you will.
Yep.
Guarantee that.
Absolutely. We also have some current projects going on. We have our next, our road rehab that is about to get underway. That is also, that has a water line replacement attached to it this year, and that is of Pinewood. We are also adding a new well to our system. That'll be number 12. And we are currently remodeling the fortnightly room. The town of Minden does a 10-year capital improvement plan. This is updated for fiscal year 26. We have a very ambitious lineup of projects for fiscal year 26 that are all listed there on the side. Just to name a few, we will have an addition of a dog park, some pickleball courts, and our annual road rehab, and then improvements to Jake's Wetland.
Where I know I'm probably jumping the gun a little bit here for our pickleball lovers in Douglas County. Where is the pickleball court also planned for Westwood?
The pickleball court has been budgeted. The location is to be determined. We're looking at several different options. One was in collaboration with the county, maybe putting them at the high school with the tennis courts. But Westwood is another option that we're stewing over right now.
Thank you.
The town of Minden has 20 employees, 18 full-time and 2 part-time. We have a total FTE of 18.95. That has not changed for quite a few years. Each year, so our FTEs are allocated to each of our funds, and we look at those allocations every single year to make sure that they still make sense. And for fiscal year 26, we did decide to do some reallocations across our funds, but there's no overall change in total FTE. Minden has 6 funds. We have 3 governmental funds, including the town's general fund and 2 capital projects funds. And then we have 3 enterprise funds that account for the town's trash and water services. There are a number of updates to the fiscal year 26 budgets compared to current year that affect all of our funds. On the revenue side, you'll see increases in each fund in miscellaneous revenue, and that is due to estimated investment earnings. On the expense side, we do have a number of changes to our salaries and benefits, including a built-in merit increase. We have a cost of living adjustment. There was an increase in the PERS rate, and then also that reallocation of our FTEs did affect most of our funds. In services and supplies, for the most part, we held our line items at current year budget if possible, but there are some increases for things like known increases if some services went up in cost that we know about, and then also small projects and purchases that are outside of our normal operations. So we'll start with our general fund revenue, and just so you know what you're looking at here, the second column in is our current year adopted budget, and then the 4th column is our fiscal year 26 budget, and the columns in blue compare the two, so you can see the differences. Our general fund revenue is pretty straightforward. We are funded by property tax primarily, and there is a projected increase of 4%. Intergovernmental revenue is gaming tax and state consolidated tax, and those are projected to stay pretty flat compared to current year. Our general fund has 4 departments that are all here on this slide. We do have some small increases to services and supplies in each department. In general admin and other public works, they're just simply certain services that we know have gone up in cost. In our highways and streets department, we budgeted for a large order of crack seal. That's not something we purchase every year, so that should last us a couple of years. In culture and recreation, we budgeted for the ongoing remodel to the fortnightly room. And in other financing uses, this is where we account for our transfers out, our contingency, and our ending fund balance. And the transfer out is what we transfer to our capital equipment construction fund to fund our roads, our current roads and parks projects. We have an ad valorem capital projects fund, just like the other towns. The transfer in on the revenue side there is a pass-through through the county, distribution of property tax specific to capital projects. We do have one budgeted capital purchase in this fund, and that is a land purchase of the Seaman Foundation parcel, but that funds part of the purchase. This is our larger capital construction or capital projects fund. This is where we account for our parks and roads projects and some of our equipment purchases. The main source of funding in this fund is that transfer in from the general fund. And we have a number of budgeted projects in this fund. This is where most of them are listed there that you'll see. And then also we are going to purchase and install a gas tank at our Buckeye Maintenance Facility, our Public Works facility, for our trucks to use. And so that is going to be a 4-way split between this fund and our 3 enterprise funds. This is our trash fund. We do have a small projected increase in trash service, and that's mainly just due to new construction. There's a lot of building going on out there. We actually have a decrease in our salaries and benefits in this fund, and that's due to the changes in our FTE allocations. And in services and supplies, we budgeted an increase for a purchase of trash cans, dumpsters, and bear cans. That's also not something we have to purchase every single year. When we do a large order of those, and they last us a couple of years. And then the $50,000 there for this fund's piece of the gas tank at Buckeye. Our wholesale water fund, we are projecting an increase in our water fees. Those are calculated using the average of the last 5 years of actual usage. And on the expense side, we do have a increase in our services and supplies. In this case, there are certain line items that have significantly gone up in cost. That's the cost of chlorine and utilities, and so we had to budget for that. We do have a few budgeted capital equipment purchases in this fund. We have a new generator set, and then this fund's portion of the gas tank. And finally, our retail water fund. We actually have a projected decrease in our water revenue, and that is because we have come to the end of our water meter program. Over the last several years, we have been installing water meters, and those come with a cost, and they also generate revenue. But in current year, we have installed and billed all water meters, so that is not a revenue source going forward. We do have a slight increase in services and supplies, and that's just a few services that have gone up in cost. And we have a number of budgeted capital projects in this fund as well. We have a water line replacement, rehab to our tank on Amber Way, and then the portion of the gas tank at Buckeye. I'm happy to answer any questions.
I
Questions,
do have
Mr.
one
Tobin?
question. You just mentioned how exactly did rearranging the FTEs reduce the fees for your line item for employees?
Yeah, thank you. So we did allocate some of our FTEs away from our trash fund. In the last couple of years, we had allocated more more employee time for certain positions to the trash fund. We went through a rate study, a rate analysis, and also a lot of changes to our ordinances. So a lot of our staff were spending more time in the trash fund, and that has come to an end, so we reallocated those.
Commissioner Rice? Okay, thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to public comment. Is there any public comment on this item of the Town of Minden budget process?
Julie Duda. Yes, on a positive note, I would like to acknowledge the fact that Minden has been publishing their allocation chart so that all of the allocations that go to the various funds, including the enterprise funds, are shown on the chart by employees. So it provides very good transparency to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comment? Okay, I'll bring it back to the board. Any additional comments from you folks? No?
Just
Okay.
want to say thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, it's 20 after 11, and we will take a break until 11:30. Okay, thank you. Resume this meeting and turn it back over to our Chief Operating Officer, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Kathy Lewis for the record. I wanted to, before we start, thank the 3 towns. I know that they have gone back to their offices to keep working, but thank the 3 towns for their presentations. I think we're very fortunate to have the 3 town managers, the staff, the board that oversees the towns that we have. But being unincorporated towns, at the end of the day, the board has to sign the paperwork going to the state for the state budget. So I appreciate them presenting the budget and presenting it in a commissioner meeting that they present that to. So I wanted to thank them before we get started. As Commissioner Gardner had stated at the beginning, we are almost at the end of adopting the budget for FY 25-26. This is our final, only required budget hearing, but final budget hearing. And hopefully at the end, you guys will approve the budget and adopt the budget for the next fiscal year. By next Monday, we will have to submit the budgets to the state in their format. We do have those prepared that after the meeting, if you guys can stay to sign those, that would be great. And then starting July 1st, we start the new fiscal year. And I will, till my last breath in Douglas County, try to convince everybody that a July 1st fiscal new year is more exciting than a calendar new year, because we get fresh new budgets and we get to start a fresh new year. So I think it's more exciting than a calendar fiscal year.
Only an accountant can say that.
I will not be only accountants. At the end, you guys will be celebrating too. Attached we did not print binders. If the commissioners would like a binder, we'd be happy to print the binders. But part of the backup material I want to go through is a fund summary for each fund, showing together. So it's a big long spreadsheet. You do have that paper copy, and we have a paper copy out on the counter. We have an FTE listing for 25-26. We have the funded supplemental and capital projects. I want to make sure that that is clear, that only what's in the backup is what is proposed to be funded next year. On April 30th, we had a special meeting where we went through the CIP that listed all the capital improvements projects that we desire and are needed to be completed in the next 5 years, but only what's funded is in the backup. And then we'll have a couple other additional capital projects that department and directors have brought forward that they like in the capital plan as unfunded, but would be part of that. And then the detailed budget worksheet. So the same detailed budget worksheets that you saw during the budget hearings, we produce those with the final budget, with the final numbers. So the rest of this presentation is in summary of what that final budget looks like, since we went into detail at the budget hearings. And we'll talk about what has changed between that tentative budget in March to right now. So looking at the total budget that we're asking for to be adopted, that includes the towns and the redevelopment funds and the all of Douglas County funds, is $271 million. Not a whole lot of changes from prior year. The changes between the $247 million that was adopted for this fiscal year compared to next year is mostly capital projects. And you see one of the biggest changes in the towns, I think listening to Town of Minden and Town of Garnerville, a great sense of that the projects that they're doing next year that increase that budget. Looking at the revenue for total county, which includes the towns, at $271 million, I always like to point out that over 40% of all our revenues come from taxes and intergovernmental. So come from property taxes, sales taxes, gaming taxes, room taxes, and intergovernmental, which is mostly the state consolidated taxes. It's the same percentage breakout as we had in prior year too. So very similar. The breakout has not changed much. Looking just at the general fund, over 67% of our revenues in the general fund coming from taxes and intergovernmental. So taxes and state consolidated taxes and sales taxes is where it comes from. Looking at total county, looking at the expenditure side, about 30% of our total budget is salaries and benefits. Again, not much change from last year percentage-wise. And looking at the general fund, almost 62% of our general fund is from salaries and benefits. Also, looking at the general fund, another way on the expenditures is the breakout between the different functions. You will see in here that it does not, the 65 million is different than the 81 million that were adopted because it does not include the contingency or ending funds. So looking at just the expenditures up here, we have 47% of it. 47% of our budget is spent on public safety. The next best one is general government, which is our elected officials, and then judicial, almost 20%. Our FTE, we are proposing to increase the FTE count from last year's adopted budget to, this year's adopted budget that we adopted in May to what you're adopting now. The increase is 10 FTE, the increase is only 8.57 FTE. These increases happened during the fiscal year, and most of them, 8 FTE, were added from grants that were approved. So they're grant-funded positions.
I think that's an important thing to highlight to our public because there's always a question of a government, growing government. And so I think it's important to recognize that this budget, the majority of the fills are grant-funded. So we really only have about a half of an employee that's being funded through the general fund. So
that's netted, right? And not just the general fund. This is all of Douglas County. So this includes the towns and everybody. Wanted to look at the update, the changes between the tentative budget and the final budget. When we presented the tentative budget, it was. Sorry, I just want to make sure if I got those. I got to look and see. Sorry, I just want to make sure I got the right numbers. I do believe I have my titles up here mixed up. I think the tentative budget was 236 million and the final budget was 239 million. And so we had an increase, and most of that was capital projects that were approved at the April 30th, so our ongoing capital projects that we added after the tentative budget. And that is what I have for the budget update to get to our final budget.
very good. Commissioners, any questions? I know it's mind-boggling, right? So it's hard to...
No questions, but I do have a comment that I want to thank you as well as your staff and our county manager for doing a very good job of maintaining the line, as it were. And I think that Douglas County is in very, very good shape and in very good hands. And thank you for what you do.
We can't hear your head rattling.
I would also like to echo that. I think I'm always amazed. The budget is a big lift to do, and finance department, the employees that we have in there do an outstanding job getting the budget prepared. We have departments and elected officials that do a great job getting the details in there. One of the exciting things is that we do have the state forms prepared, and so that is an exciting one that we're not chasing signatures down on the due date to get those done. So I want to appreciate finance staff for preparing that too. So a big lift, including the commissioners, you guys sitting through the 4 days of budget hearings and all the updates, and so it's a big lift to get here.
Ms. Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Jennifer Davidson, County Manager, for the record. I too want to publicly thank everyone involved in the budget process. It was a real team effort, wonderful leadership across this organization in partnership with our elected officials, our department heads, and county finance staff. And I do just also want to publicly state and thank the leadership of this county commission for your efforts to work in partnership with the county staff to put us in the financial position that we are in. Thank you for your conservative approach to this budget. I will tell you, thanks in no small parts to your efforts last budget cycle, significantly the county took great steps to right-size this budget and to ensure that we were operating within our means. And for the county and for our citizens, what that meant when we are looking at our revenue sources being impacted based on the projections that we were seeing this time last year, we made some course corrections. And we are seeing that the projections that we had this time last year were exactly spot on, and will continue into the next fiscal year. What that meant was that this county commission set this organization up for success in partnership with our elected officials and department heads, because we made those necessary changes a year ago. We are not faced with the circumstances that we are seeing across this region, where many other entities are having to cut positions and are being put in a position of forced layoffs, which has a huge impact on county operations, services, and staff. And I'm very pleased that we are not in that position today. And I thank the County Commission for your leadership and for the efforts of our department heads. Thank you.
Thank you. I left my microphone on. Anyways, and the thing I would recognize here, and I thank the staff also, this was probably my greatest fear coming into office 4 years ago, is the budgets, and quickly to find out that we didn't have a lot of money to spend, pennies basically. Once again, this is a no frills budget, and addresses all of our needs, which is important in our priorities. I think it's important to remind the public. I'm kind of disappointed that we hear a lot of comments out in the public on a daily basis almost about things that they feel like maybe we are overspending in areas, have too many employees here, there, and everywhere, have too large of a fleet, you name it. And the requirements or the feeling that if there's waste, fraud, and abuse on the federal budgets and financial processes, and the same thing with the state, that there must be also at the county level. And yet, it's interesting that we have a meeting here today. We've had 4 meetings, and then today's meeting, and yet, other than staff, I don't see members of the public, so it's disappointing that the members of the public aren't taking a closer look at this. But I think it's also important to remind the public that we have a robust waste, fraud, and abuse hotline that's available to them should they choose to use that. I don't know if we have that phone number available quickly, but also put in place because of, and it was mentioned earlier by a member of the public about TireGate. The Waste, Fraud, and Abuse Hotline was a result of that process, I believe. Also, our audit committee, that's very active on a regular basis and has a commissioner assigned to that. I believe it's Commissioner Tolbert. Are you assigned to audit, or? Yes. Okay, so we have commissioner oversight on that. And so we have a lot of things in place that would prevent, hopefully, our employees from or other members of the public from taking advantage of our programs. And we have a robust attorney or district attorney's office that does not blink an eye about prosecuting to the smallest amount, regardless of whether it's hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, or even $1, zero tolerance policy. So I appreciate us taking that aspect of our county very, very seriously. It's public money, and we try to spend it wisely. So with that, unless you have something else, we need to go to public comment on this, and then we'll come back and adopt a final budget. Is that right? Okay. So at this time, all the members of the public are invited to offer public comment. Okay. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the board. And do we have a in our cover? Okay, we have a recommended motion up there.
Mr. Chairman.
Entertain a motion. Mr.
Mr.
Rice.
Chairman, I move that we adopt the fiscal year 2025-26 final budgets for Douglas County and the Douglas County Redevelopment Agency funds and the towns of Gardnerville, Genoa, and Minden as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Rice, seconded by Commissioner Tolbert to adopt the fiscal year 25-26 final budgets for Douglas County and Douglas County Redevelopment Agency funds and the towns of Gardnerville, Genoa, and Minden as presented. Any further discussion? Sensing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 3 to, what would that be? 3-0. Okay, 3-0. Thank you so much once again, okay? So we can move forward as of, and do the necessary steps forward with the state and get moving. Anything else today? Okay, so that completes item number 5. We've done that in fairly good short order. And once again, thank you, staff, okay? And appreciate all your hard work and efforts to bring this to fruition. So with that, we will go to closing public comment. I will entertain any closing public comment at this time. Since no closing public comment, we will, at this time, adjourn the meeting and remind the public we have another meeting, a regular board meeting, the first Thursday of June. What is that, June? 2nd. Is it June 2nd? I don't know. June 5th, right? This is a test. June 5th is our next regular meeting, 10 o'clock, same place. Okay, thank you. Meeting is adjourned.